I'm Alex Batdorf, and you're watching Get Shit Done, the place where we're taking female entrepreneurs from inspiration to activation by giving you access to the resources you need to grow your company on your own terms. Now, look, Queens, I have a lot of friends who are artists and creatives that are running companies, and the main repetitive thing I hear from them is that it is so hard for them to create and do their art and also run a business. Now, for those of you who are not artists and creatives, the way that I can break it down for you to understand is think about when you're bogged down in running the operations and the day-to-day in your business, you don't have a lot of time for strategy and vision so you can move forward. That's the same for an artist or a creative. If they don't have time and they're just getting bogged down with the day-to-day in the business, they don't have any room to create. And that is their business. So that's why I wanted to bring on my guest today, who is an incredible artist. And fun fact about her, she had the idea for her business and just the idea. And to see if it would actually work, the only thing she did was put it up on Craigslist to see if it would get some bites. And now here we are. So if you are looking to figure out ways to run your business efficiently and successfully as an artist, make sure to stay tuned. Daryl Oh lasted 2 months in a Y Combinator-backed fashion startup before realizing that there was no amount of money or equity that would justify the perpetuation of a broken system. In 2015, she founded Holyrad Studio, a creative agency and production studio revolutionizing freelance culture by providing affordable access to space, equipment, and resources as a solution to her own obstacles as a 21st century creative to redefine the traditional pathway to success. With over 8 years of experience as a photographer, she dedicated her work to amplifying the voices and visions that often get overlooked. Recently, she and her team raised over $50,000 on Kickstarter to scale Holyrad, proof that creative entrepreneurs can get shit done.
You guys, we're in her beautiful space. Which neighborhood is this? We're in Clinton Hill, South Williamsburg, depending on who you're asking.
So tell us, what is Holyrad and why did you start it?
Holyrad is really simply put a solution that I created for myself.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I didn't set out to start Holyrad with this grand mission.
So this is the best thing.
I know. I mean, I graduated school. I got a job at an incredible Y Combinator-backed startup company as the head photographer, and I was working crazy hours. But I was doing it for all the other reasons why we're told to stay in that sort of position, right? Healthcare, equity. If the company gets bought out, I can really take care of my parents. You know, immigrant mentality, like wanting to give back, and I just woke up one day and I was like, is this bringing me joy? Mm-hmm. And more importantly, is this the legacy that I want to put on this earth? Mm-hmm. And nothing against the founder and nothing against the mission of the company. Truthfully, I just struggled with being able to be a part of the fast fashion world. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I knew I wasn't going to be able to find a balance, right? Yeah. Being in that type of business, the commitment that they want from those first few employees, I know I was lying to them. Yeah. I know I was like, I'm not really in this. And I wasn't able to carve out that separate time that I think we tell ourselves, like, I'm just gonna take this job for the money and the support, and my true artist self is gonna find time on the weekends. She never found time to pick up the camera on the weekends. Yeah. She didn't. So when I left that company, I was like, you know what? I'm in my early 20s. I don't have a kid, I don't have a mortgage. Oh. This is the easiest it's gonna get for me to take a risk on myself. Mm-hmm. And when I'm coming from a position of not really having a lot of money, not really having a lot of prospects, it was easy to kind of be like, I have nothing to lose. Yeah. And when you make that your friend, when you make that part of yourself your ally, you're like, you know what, I can do anything that I want.
Anything.
Yeah.
I love that. When you take off the constraints you put around yourself, it's like, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
My mom reminds me of that all the time. She's just like, you don't have a kid, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have anything. Like, go do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do what I want to do. Okay.
Yeah. And when you frame it like that, it was just really easy for me to be like, I already had a pretty good freelance career when I was in college. You know, I was shooting parties, I was shooting headshots, I was shooting this and that. So I had an existing, you know, pipeline of clients out there, you know? So I took my camera, I went out shooting, and I was getting more and more jobs, and I was like feeling good, but then you hit this plateau, and you also have these moments where you're like, okay, great, I'm starting out, I get a budget, but I gotta rent equipment, I've got to assemble a team, I've got my daily operating costs, just being a New Yorker, I've got to find space, and you take that budget, and you realize, whoop, I'm getting paid probably about $2 an hour here.
Yeah.
Is that really me thriving? Yeah. Is that really me being able to take care of my future self? Because I think we're allowed, even as artists, to break away from the starving artist narrative.
Yeah.
Being a starving artist doesn't necessarily make me any more authentic or any more of value.
Ooh, I love that.
It's a falsehood, at least from where I was standing.
Yeah.
So
makes you feel good about your situation.
Yeah. And you know, when I graduated school, it was like what, 2014, 2015. The idea of the artist selling out isn't the same as anymore. You know?
No, that's why you have so many creative entrepreneurs. So did you know before you started, like, I mean, in college, did you know before you started this that you wanted to run your own business, be an entrepreneur?
You know, I was taking an incredible elective class called The Business of Art.
Ooh.
Oh my God. Honestly, I really think that it should have been a requirement. 2-credit class, and the mission of the class was to come up with an idea for that to make money as an artist. Yeah. And I thought of a shared studio space. You know, because I was like, I'm about to graduate school, I'm not going to have access to the equipment cage, I'm not going to have access to a studio space, I'm not going to have access to a community to get feedback on my portfolio or to just like be able to have ideas and conversations with. So it seemed like a natural thing for me to come up with for the class. Little did I know what I would be picking up that same assignment out of my like filing cabinet underneath my bed somewhere, you know, a little bit over 6 months later to help me navigate that next phase of my career.
That's amazing.
So that's where it came from.
I think the FedEx founder had the same situation where he actually was in a class, got a really bad grade, and the teacher like basically scoffed at his idea. And it's now FedEx, so okay.
Yeah.
But what I find really interesting is a lot of creatives and artists get a lot of shit about, again, the starving artist being broke, not being able to monetize their passion. So can you walk us through the process of, you said, you know, 6 months later you picked up this business plan you created in this class, and then you're like, I'm going to create this because I'm probably making $2 an hour. But what was your process for actually transitioning your artistry into an actual business and monetizing it?
Well, I really put my thinking cap on in terms of an entrepreneurial perspective. I really, honestly, I didn't answer that question as an artist. I answered it as like a practical human being trying to problem solve.
Yeah.
I just think that in retrospect, a lot of my creative process helped me think outside the box.
Yeah.
So I took a look at my line sheet and I was like, what's the most expensive item that I keep spending money on in New York, right? Hands down, it was renting out space. You're paying $600 to $1,000 a day to get a space like this.
It's crazy.
I mean, Alex, and this is beautiful space.
Yeah,
but we're not
great.
talking Milk Studios here, right? And that's the average price point for something like this.
That is so crazy.
And I, you know, took a look at Airbnb, took a look at Uber, and I was like, listen, the sharing economy is real. Let me take photos of this beautiful piece of property that I found, put it on Craigslist, was like, let me see how many people would hypothetically want to rent out this space.
Yeah.
On average, I was getting 10 inquiries a week, and I was like, this is financially viable. Let me figure out how to get a space paid for so that I can start pocketing that line item of $600 a day. And that's really how I solved the problem. I was just trying to take a look at my own finances and figure out what I needed to do to get to the next step, and it really just kept progressing because I just allowed the experimentation to be a part of the process. Right?
Yeah,
that was a big factor to me feeling confident about signing a lease and everything, but it was very scary, you know?
Yeah.
Because even with a certain amount of data and information, there's no pure predictability in any of this.
There's no guarantee of anything.
And I think it kind of comes back to that first point of being like, well, better than nothing. I feel good about it. I know that I need to make some sort of change if I want to actually see some vertical growth here in my career. So cut to 3 years later, we're at a second location and we're chugging along very well.
Love it.
Yeah.
So a big part of you getting this space is figuring out how to sell.
Yes.
And that is a scary thing for anybody, but sometimes it's really hard for artists to sell their services. Whether it's understanding if they're undervaluing or overvaluing, and I find a lot of times undervaluing themselves. So how did you get over the fear of selling your services?
Well, I think it was the reality of needing to pay our rent here.
Yeah.
Right? There's a wonderful balance as long as you're able to not let it emotionally take over you. Of being like, you know what? My name's on the lease. I signed myself up for this. If I don't get over this, and if I don't start selling myself, then the whole dream is dead.
Yeah.
And so taking on more responsibility kind of pushes you to be more accountable for yourself. So for me, that's what worked.
Yeah.
It's not foolproof. I still have days where I'm like, oh God, should I put a exclamation point at the end of that sentence? Should I have done this? And especially when you're cold calling.
Yeah.
I haven't had as much of a trouble in terms of like selling my services because so much of the sale of my services was about selling the space.
Yeah.
And I was training myself on my sales and negotiation skills with selling physical space to renters, which is a little bit more at arm's length than maybe selling my creative photography services to a client.
Yeah.
So I have to say that my experience with selling something that was emotionally detached and then applying it to things that I did care about really allowed me to recognize that it's okay if, people don't get back to you. Because sometimes people don't get back to you for logistical reasons, and I know that because of the sale process about renting space. Things come up, clients cancel, there's a rainstorm, they need to,
Or they're just not interested.
Yeah, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't have anything to do with my self-worth.
And then the conversion rate on sale, like especially cold outreach, is like, I think something like 2%.
Oh yeah.
It's super low.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why not put it out there?
Yeah, and thinking about it really logically.
Yeah.
But the transition, I think, is a really spiritual one too. I mean, if we want to get deep for a second, the how for me was sometimes looking myself in the mirror in the morning and being like, "Girl, got this. Firework. Don't you worry about it. If people don't get it, it's not you, it's them, and that is okay." I really think that was the how for me. And I still, every day meditate a minimum of five minutes. I look myself in the mirror and I say, "You got this. You have everything you need." And as long as I know that, nobody gets back to my emails. Nobody gets back to my emails.
I literally was just listening to Cardi B, like right before this. I think she's like great at this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, I'm gonna look myself in the mirror. I'm winning. Yes. No, a lot of it is just that. It's just there's no necessarily a blueprint or a formula specific.
Yeah.
So it's like I just have to put myself out there.
Yeah.
What do you feel has been the hardest thing about transitioning from an artist to an entrepreneur, and how have you handled that process?
I think the hardest part about the conditioning of the mind of an artist is that it's purely for like your internal creation process, right? Bringing something out of the ether through your body and contributing to society, and that is a very intimate process for yourself.
Very spiritual.
Very spiritual. And when you're reading work inside of school about becoming an artist, and you're learning technique, and you're researching things in antiquity, it is still very inside of this intimate creation.
It's like philosophical.
Really,
very philosophical.
Really, it's in the ether. It's out here.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is like A, B, C, therefore.
Get it done.
And we were speaking off camera about this, about how I think being a left brain person naturally, being a very math science person, I can flip flop between logic based decision making and spiritual based, creative ether thinking, visionary thinking. I think you used to describe it, and so I feel like the transition is continuing to happen, and I think that I really want to share that because it's a process.
It does not stop.
There are good days and there are bad days.
Yeah.
And I have my bad days, even days when I walk in here and I visually see what I've been able to create when I believe in myself. There are still lots of days of doubt, and I allow myself to have that.
Okay, so when it comes to artists, I have a lot of friends who are artists, very creative. and very detail oriented, which is incredible, but sometimes that can slow you down. And entrepreneurs in general already struggle with parent syndrome, where everyone thinks their baby is the most beautiful thing in the world and has to be perfect, and you spend so much time making it perfect, but sometimes that can slow you down. So how are you balancing that from, I mean, being an artist, I'm sure you don't want to put out certain work into the world until you feel like, okay, I have done my due diligence in making this look beautiful.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that?
Well, coming to terms with the fact that when I was looking for fundraising options, I always heard, don't just show people your best, show people your progress.
Yeah, I love that.
If you want a VC, if you want a VC to see the type of person you are, show them what you're like on a bad day. Show them the difference between a video series from point A to point B.
Yep.
You know, and then on and on and on.
That gets them excited about what's going to happen next.
Oh, it gets them excited about what's going to happen next. But I think it also really establishes a trust build. Like if we're just talking from the perspective of a funder or a Kickstarter campaign, you want people to see that you're working, that you're not perfect.
Yeah.
So getting over that is something that takes a lot of time, but it also, once you see it work the first time, for me, I was like convinced.
Yeah.
Because it really eliminated the fear. I know that something that is unique about me that everybody that's watching this, that's a creative, that's trying to transition into that more entrepreneurial mindset, might not know about my work, is that I reserve a certain amount of time and a certain amount of my artistic practice to not be for anybody.
Yeah, I love that.
Especially when I'm getting hired for my camera work. Mm-hmm. It's really important for you to maintain a little part of yourself that's sacred. It also means that you can kind of allow yourself to be a perfectionist in that space. Yeah. Allow yourself to, be really, really spiritual. Allow that, maintain that. In fact, it probably is going to help nurture the rest of your life as well. But I think that I was able to let go of the need to make everything perfect every single time because of the fact that people enjoy seeing your process. But also in the age of the internet, people are too distracted.
They're so distracted. They don't even see that little, like the little thing you see in Photoshop that's like a little smudge. People don't see that shit.
No.
They don't. They're scrolling. It's like I heard the other day that we scroll the height of the Eiffel Tower each day.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah. No. It's Statue of Liberty. Every day. That's a lot of content we're consuming.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, it's so much. So it's just like someone to stop and see that. But I understand like keeping the integrity in your work. So that brings me to, I love that you touched on balance. Balance is so important. I have clients who are creative and they struggle with this where they're trying to maintain the balance of running their business and growing, which is important. But the thing that fuels them, their vision, their purpose is the creative aspect. So they need that time to create. So walk us through that process. You said that I set aside certain time to just create for me. So is that every week? Is it every day? Like when are you carving out that time?
Well, because we are now a team of people here that have very complementary sort of skills and interests, right? We have one partner is more video and narrative based. We have one collaborator who's more styling. So what I do is I make sure that we turn work into play.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by this is the fact that as a production company and a creative entity, we need to be able to show off our creative ability. What if you could turn that into playtime? It's exactly what we do. Once a month, we have an editorial where everybody gets to contribute their expertise to this final thing. I think it was realizing that if I can turn the part of a certain part of work into my playtime and actually have it be disassociated from needing to be like pitched to a platform or anything, we just put it on our Instagram, put it on our YouTube. The people that follow us enjoy it, and we do it for the sake of the experience, for the camaraderie, for the conversations on set, for that weird experimentation because you saw bubble wrap in the corner one day and you're like, maybe that should be a hairpiece. And you just play for a few days, and it lasts and permeates throughout the entire team as well. I still definitely struggle to find that personal one-on-one photo time. I found a solution by getting a little small digital camera because I have a passion for street photography.
Yeah.
Small digital camera, and I just like an accessory, keep it on my body, and I shoot throughout the day.
Oh, I love
and
that.
it's like this little sort of reminder, being like you're creative, and and to be invited to
utilize
play.
your talents.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the final destination of balance, but for right now, I can sort of like, what are the goals of the team?
Yeah.
How much time do I have? What are the moments that I can turn into play?
And what would you say to a creative that's looking to be an entrepreneur who currently is? What would you say is one of the greatest strengths of being an artist or creative that can make you a damn good entrepreneur?
Oh, because you are naturally an outside of the box thinker.
Innovators.
Oh,
original
absolutely.
innovators.
Original innovators. I mean, let's make it. Let's like pull it back really quickly.
Yeah.
What is the artist's role in antiquity? Right. We've always been at the vanguard of the next thing in the zeitgeist. Right.
Yeah.
If you could turn your entrepreneurship into your own art project, I think that's something that could just flip the switch a little bit.
I love that.
I mean, placing it inside of yourself rather than trying to fit in that other camp.
Into the box.
There. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, you
fitting into a box.
You're Googling like entrepreneurship, top 10 things. You've got your Medium articles being sent to you. Don't go there.
You don't be like anybody else.
No.
It's not worth it.
Inside out is really where it's at. So I think that's one of the reasons for why some of the most incredible innovators in our in the creative space right now, like one of the most famous people and most coveted people right now to work with as a creative strategist is somebody who used to be like just a Tumblr famous kid.
Yeah.
And what he would do is he would imagine who he wanted as a client.
Yeah.
He would fake a campaign for them, make it so successful and out of the box that brand ended up hiring him to keep doing the campaign.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
So thinking really outside of the box, like let go of the result, let go of the
status quo.
Yeah, let go of the conventional way of thinking things, and understand that the reason for why you're going to be super successful as a creative entrepreneur is because of that first half and not the second half, the creative part.
Y'all, Daryl straight up supercharged my creative vibe. And if she did the same for you, make sure to like this video. And if you want to continue to gain access to how other badass babes like Daryl are growing their businesses successfully and on their own terms, make sure to subscribe to this channel. And don't miss out on that inbox action, y'all, where we send you weekly resources to help you get shit done and grow your business over on at SheGetsShitDone.com. But until next time, queens, keep getting shit done.